Hello, everyone. Welcome to our race today between GunslinginSal and Meatbag. I guess Meatbag Esquire. So I'm Jason ILTG. I'll be commentating with Quacksil.
Hi, everyone. We're pretty deep into the fourth round of our Hollow Knight Randomizer Lockout Bingo tournament. And I don't recall offhand what the records of these runners are so far, but I believe we are likely fighting for seating in the lower bracket.
Yeah, I don't remember if they're... I believe they're either 2-1 or 1-2, but I'm not sure. Anyways, we're getting started here with a King's Pass start default settings here. This board is pretty interesting. It has a bunch of money goals between buyout Legator, buyout Salubra, spend 4K, and some obtain goals of things like rancid eggs, king's idols, and 1 extra map.
Yeah. Other than the False Knight Brooding Moloch goal hiding in the bottom corner, it looks like this is a board that has the potential to go very late because you've got a lot of money goals, you've got some inaccessible bosses in Dreamnail White Lady and Hive Knight, and you've also got some non-duplicated one-off checks to hunt for, like City Crest and Isma's Tier.
Yeah, and of course, Trampass is pretty good on this board with both Hive Knight and Grubs and Waterways, both of which need Trampass in order to be done. So it looks like we're going to see both racers checking Fury here. Interesting decision given the very early False Knight Brooding Moloch goal. And I didn't quite catch... Okay, it's a Vessel Fragment, so nothing relevant.
Yeah, my bad, I misspoke. Isma's is duped. Trampass is what I'm referring to as non-dupe checks.
Yeah, Isma's is in fact duped. But Isma's is also of questionable quality, given that there are many skips you can do for all of the different Isma's quote-unquote locked checks. So it looks like not much other Zelda. Of note, there is 1 King's Idol there. We'll see if the racers remember that later when obtain 3 King's Idols comes into play.
Yeah, and being able to keep track of what is at shops as the game goes on is a very valuable skill that is often forgotten, with several races coming down to a charm neglected very early on in the game.
Yep. It looks like Meatbag will be skipping past Moloch, and maybe later coming back to it for the goal. But according to Jetfire in chat, Meatbag doesn't like early Moloch, so we'll see. Meanwhile, Sal looks like they're going over towards Moloch.
So Meatbag could be trying to hope that he finds something okay at False Knight to help speed up the Moloch fight, which is not that bad a play because it's not too big a time loss to come back to Moloch. Or he could just be donating the goal. We've seen a couple races where runners have said, okay, I'm not going to worry about False Knight Moloch. I'm going to use the time you're fighting Moloch to get ahead on checks.
Yeah, if there's something at, for example, shops, some goal or progression, then Meatbag will be pretty ahead if he chooses to skip Moloch altogether.
Although with this board, they're with no charm obtain goals. Like all of our random obtain goals require multiples, it looks like, or like our Trampass sort of like Isma's progression. So hoping to luck out at shops seems like a less high utility play on this board than on some of the ones we've seen in races earlier this week.
Yeah. So Meatbag did just find Green Path Stag and Crossroads Stag at Dirt Myth Stag. Very useful. Very much so, clearly. But looks like he's going to head over into Green Path and perhaps completely ignore Crossroads. Meanwhile, Sal is struggling a bit with Moloch, getting some heals in but taking a bunch of damage.
Narrowly avoiding death there by jumping Moloch. That was really scary.
Yeah. Moloch should almost be dead, though, I think. And that was dive from Meatbag. That is pretty big. He can only access 2 dive floors right now, or only 1 dive floor really right now in Easy Logic. the Peaks one. Oh, and that's Tram Pass for Sal. That's also pretty big. Meatbag might take
especially
a really
if
long
Meatbag
time
doesn't
to
go
check
back
out.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Dive,
On the right
Moloch
side.
is in fact in Logic, so that could be our logical right side access.
Oh yeah, that's right side in and of itself with just those 2 checks. Wow.
Yeah, Tram Pass plus Dive. So it's possible that Meatbag will be able to get this False Night Brooding Moloch goal. The Dive makes Moloch much faster, and also it helps with False Night.
Yeah, I wonder if Meatbag will turn around and continue going for that goal after seeing that it doesn't get marked by the time that he's through with False Night. That's probably an indication to him to go for it. I don't know. It might be tight.
Thumb, I believe this is on easy that they're playing. Just default settings, easy, mini super junk bit, not random start, default start in King's Pass. So I think at this pace, Sal will get the False Night Brooding Moloch goal because he's just about to enter False Night and probably won't have time. It won't take that much time for him to do False Night. Yeah, he's going.
Not getting baited by the stag.
Yep. Perhaps if Meatbag had done a few less checks, he would have been able to beat Sal to it, but as it stands, probably. Meanwhile, finding Hera at False Night is one of the worst places to go find a Dreamer because it prevents you from going towards Mound. And of course,
warping all the way back to
Dirtmouth.
He might be eyeing the Moloch at this point, because I don't know why you'd warp back all the way back to Dirtmouth rather than Hot Springs if you were going to just like check Mound and be done.
Because Meatbag's Crossroads got infected by that Hera pickup at False Night, he can't have gone to Mound directly. He has to go the long way. And it looks like he's going to check Grubs and probably just concede the False Night Moloch goal that he was probably behind on anyway. So it looks like that was an Arcane at 2 Grubs, which is actually kind of relevant on this board with all the money goals, as well as VS at 8 Grubs, and there was something at 10, I think it was Ismus?
Tier at 16, it looked like.
Oh, 16, I misread that.
And Meatbag is going towards Moloch, so we'll probably still lose this goal. Yeah, there's the 3rd and final phase, but if he stays in it, he will at least be rewarded with that Tram Pass, which is a big deal. So hopefully he does not warp out once he sees this get marked. But
oh no,
he's turning around.
Okay, that is actually potentially quite big because Tram Pass might be their intended progression. I could very well see this going poorly for Meatbag if Sal uses that Tram Pass to go to the right side and finds progression there.
I don't know how comfortable Meatbag is with the All Skills Dark Room in Crystal Peaks, but if he is comfortable with that, he could still get right side, and if he's headed in that direction, he wouldn't be too far behind, but it is still a fairly big deal considering the number of goals as well that are locked behind Tram Pass.
Cyberspace Sloth, I believe Moloch is in Logic with just any one spell, including Dive. It was a slightly recent change. Before you had to have any non-dive spell because it was grouped with all the flying dream bosses, or dream warriors. Not dream bosses. But since it got changed, it also includes Dive now. So it looks like Meatbag will be checking shops here. Another option to get to right side out of Logic is to do Inflected Vengefly Pogo from Salubra up to Blue Lake. So that could also be a way to right side that's, I think, a bit easier than the Dark Room.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So Meatbag's still got options if progression is at right side. the tram pass will be a bigger deal later. And GunslinginSal is going for this Hornet fight. Not often something that gets rushed super early, although with dive it trivializes the fight even more. But often a bit of a slow check to make early, especially when you have logical right side access, but maybe it'll pay off.
Yeah, if I were Sal, I would be going straight for right side. There's a bunch of things in right side, including access to those 3 dive floors, I believe. You get to do 1 dive floor going into crypts, 1 dive floor in basin to get to a grub, if you really want to, though it's pretty far. And you can do infection pogo to the golem dive floor in crossroads, or you can just do the dive floor in peaks as well.
Plus, Meatbag's simple key being accessible, the 1 dive floor in waterways is actually 3 dive floors, and it's considered one of the easiest ways to mark that goal off. So GunslinginSal would have to back up to find it, which he's continuing on into green path instead of headed right. But these are options. It looks like Meatbag is probably eyeing those dive floors and whatever else right side has to offer.
Yeah, I really like this play from Meatbag. Right side is extremely valuable this seed because it includes Lem. Like, you really want to be able to get to Lem here to sell all your relics to do all of those money goals. So this is a pretty good play for Meatbag.
Meatbag is stopping to go check resting grounds, which is fair. Crypt is floor, some checks. Resting grounds is its own checks, but the Dreamnail cutscene is fairly long, and it may give GunslinginSal an opportunity to either find something in green path or exhaust green path and start moving towards the right side.
Yeah, it looks like Sal is just continuing throughout green path. I don't know whether I like this play. There's not that many checks you can get with no movement and just dive. Here, you can get autopilot seal, you can get Queen Station, but like not much else that Sal hasn't already done.
Yeah, and green path is a bit awkward because you oftentimes get there early because there are just so many paths to it and it's right next to crossroads. But that also puts you in the position of often having to double back because you strand some number of checks in green path, because there are some claw-locked ones. There's Thorns, which is dash-locked minus some incredibly cursed stuff. There's the No Eyes Dark Room, which if you're not comfortable with, you come back for with Lantern. So you run the risk of leaving a check or two behind.
Yeah. For Thorns, Claw plus C-Dash isn't that cursed. It's not very obvious how to do it, but it's not that cursed.
I'm just biased because I was thinking of there was recently a clip posted in the Hollow Knight Discord, plug, of someone getting Thorns of Agony with only Wraiths and Cyclone Slash.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cursed. Meanwhile, Meatbag finds Dream Nailed almost vanilla. Not actually that important on this board, surprisingly, but will be relevant later for Kill a King's Mold and Dream Nail White.
And a Vengeful Spirit at the autopilot seal. So that's a couple extra checks if Sal wants to double back for Soul Catcher, but otherwise not a whole lot.
They already had a Baldur kill in the form of dive, so actually a bit less relevant.
Oh yeah, it's nothing at all. Never mind.
Not much at Sly. It looked like there was a Arcane Egg, as well as some G. Oh, and Claw at Salubra. Okay. Meatbag, quite late to this check because he wanted to get a bench after doing the Infection Pogo. But that Claw is pretty big. I don't know when Sal will go back for that. Looks like Meatbag is doing going to Cliffs, maybe? Going to Sly?
Between Sly and Salubra, that was 4 Rancid Eggs that we saw, so he could be headed back to right side, pawn off some relics to Lem, and try and get that goal out of the way.
Stone Sanctuary Journal could also be another goal that Meatbag might be eyeing now with that Claw. Flower to Elderbug now also possible with Claw and Dive and Resting Grounds access, but probably not something that's that Meatbag wants to spend a ton of time on, especially with infected Crossroad.
Yeah, really unfortunate that you always seem to infect the Crossroads very early whenever that goal is on the board.
Yeah.
This also begs the question of what was logical Salubra access, because we have several ways to get to Salubra that we've seen in the form of infection or with the air stall that Sal found, as well as a shade skip, but none of those are in easy logic.
So I saw a pretty expensive C-Dash and pretty expensive Shaman essence, as well as like 100 something essence for Wraiths, I believe. So Sal heading over here is purely to break that dive floor and immediately heading back. Or perhaps doing the air stall over to the check, but no, it looks like he's just heading away.
That's a rough air stall to go for, especially when there are other things you could be doing.
Oh, right. I just realized Sal doesn't have Claw yet, so that air stall is, I believe, not even possible. So it looks like Sal will be heading over to shops here. This is pretty good for him. He'll get Claw and be able to get the Stone Sanctuary journal check, which will be a second goal. But Meatbag has much more progress towards right side, which is very important this game, so we'll see.
Yeah, although so far, that right side not paying out super huge. It's only a matter of time, but it's probably good for Sal that Meatbag hasn't, like, pulled away with a crazy lead while Sal was in green path.
Yep. Did Meatbag skip right side of Crypts there? I didn't see him go check it.
Yeah, I think
he might
may
be
have
rushing.
just forgotten about Claw, or is rushing something.
Yeah.
Lem for
Yeah.
eggs.
I mean, it makes sense to be rushing, but then you might just skip checks altogether. But I imagine he just forgot about Claw.
Remember in a much earlier race, there was a question raised by, I think, Meatbag about the viability of going for those checks and being able to get back, because he forgot that you can just pogo on the spikes to return. So if that's in his head, then he may have forgot that he could come back from those checks without warping, which would explain why he didn't check those, but did check the any % journal. I don't know. It's a little weird.
I guess the checks he did were much quicker. The two right side checks in Crypts are a bit more isolated from the others. Yeah, Meatbag might just be rushing, I don't know. He's doing some quick checks, but skipping some not so quick checks.
Certainly has the Geo on hand in the form of he definitely got at least one of an egg, a seal, and an idol. So that's basically 2,500 Geo already. I don't remember what else he has on hand, but he's already close to 4K. I'm pretty sure there was another arcane egg in shops he didn't buy. He may just be trying to sweep as many of these money goals as he can as fast as possible.
Yep. I know he has at least one idol, at least one egg. I saw 2 seals when he picked that one up, so yeah. And there were there was one egg in shops, like you said. So this should be pretty good for Meatbag. He should be able to at least buy out Salubra, I would guess, and spend 4K. Might also get 4 rancid eggs in addition to that without having to make more. I imagine he heads down to the waterways bench first, since he can climb back up with Claw. Yeah, it looks like he's doing that.
And that's 3 dive floors for free.
Yeah, so Sal will be able to get a second goal once he goes and checks Salubra, though he's been pretty slow at that, it seems. Looks like he's getting the Hot Springs bench or heading over to Waterways? Or, sorry, by Waterways I meant Fungal and Lucky Dragon. Oh, it looks like he's heading to right side. Oh, this is pretty bad for Sal. He's skipping Salubra, which had Claw. Oh yeah, Jet makes a good point. Sal was going for the Goem dive floor. That would have been his second with the third one at Crypts, but he's been beaten to that, so he warped out.
Yeah, Meatbag does not have any nail art nor wings, so it's going to be a bit of a walk around the outside of City of Tears, but eventually he's going to find his way to Lem and become flush with cash as GunslinginSal starts up on the Dreamnail cutscene.
So with Dreamnail and Dive and Waterways access, Meatbag can also go enter Godhome now, though I imagine he'll put that off to after doing all the money goals. Of course, there's the Stone Sanctuary journal that still has yet to be marked because Meatbag is busy on the right side and Sal has not yet found the claw.
Meatbag probably enjoying the seed. It's always a kind seed to Meatbag when unbreakable strength is found early.
There's one
that
rancid egg.
That's 4 in just one visit to Salubra, which is a big deal because it makes the money routing even easier for Meatbag.
Yeah. So that looks like, yep, that's enough to spend 4K. Almost certainly enough to buy out Salubra, though we'll see.
And this is potentially very dangerous because it may reduce even further the chances that Sal goes back and finds his claw with any degree of speed.
So there's 4 rancid eggs for Meatbag. And then buy out Salubra for Meatbag and spend 4K for Meatbag. City proving to be extremely strong with Lem. Oh, it looks like Meatbag will be heading over to Leg Eater to spend the rest of his 4K. A bit dangerous given that he doesn't know where Sal is and could get sniped on the spent 4K goal, but it'll turn out to be safe. Yeah, Jet. Meatbag probably wants to get started on the buyout Leg Eater goal, and this is a good way to be able to do that without having to get even more money.
And Sal, yep, looking at his available benches and chooses to head deeper into right side. So he may be unfortunately missing that claw in light of knowing that Meatbag all over the Salubra goal.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate. He might lose out on that Stone Sanctuary goal at this point, since after Meatbag goes to Leg Eater and buys out Leg Eater, presumably he'll go back to Stone Sanctuary. Though in the meantime, it seems like he's really struggling with his infection.
It's by no means a free trick. I think he needs to get a little bit further onto the left of that second infection bubble when going for that pogo. But I don't have a great degree of familiarity with this execution-wise myself, so...
Yeah, I generally tend to just hold left, like jump and hold left and pogo the 2 bubbles that Meatbag's pogoing there, plus the one beneath the ledge. And that works out usually as long as I jump at the right place. It's a bit finicky, and it often takes me a few tries. And there, Meatbag gets it. You don't need Claw, though. We saw Meatbag use it there to get a bit more leeway.
Yeah, it usually when you have infection, not always, but usually if you're making some sort of infection-based skip, you're going to right side because of how valuable that is early game. So a little less frequently seen to get that infection skip into fungal. But Meatbag rewarded with the 4K goal, as well as an early eye for how easy or hard it will be to buy out Leg Eater.
Yep. So that's Dreamgate at Leg Eater, which is pretty good because they'll need 3 dream nails to kill that king's mold, as well as a pale ore, a kind of cheap seal, and collector's map.
It also looked like Leg Eater had 2 mask shards, which themselves are halfway to a goal as well. So Meatbag really lucking out with the shop run.
Yep, Leg Eater actually pretty useful for a shop. All of the shops have been pretty useful for working towards goals, whether more money or the others random goals. So it looks like Meatbag will be killing Shimmel Ogres here. Curious to see whether this is just for money and he'll go back to Lem with some more relics to complete Leg Eater buying out. He might be going over to Queen Station here and up into Stone Sanctuary to get the journal below Stone Sanctuary. If Sal is going, Sal's probably not going over to Salubra here. Probably checking grubs if I were to guess. But if Sal gets Claw fast enough, Meatbag could be locked out of Stone Sanctuary.
But from Meatbag's perspective, he has no idea that Sal has already been through Green Path. Like it's hard for him to make that deduction based only on what's on the board. So he probably feels totally content to go for this play.
Yeah, I think Meatbag might suspect that Sal might be just behind him a bit later because he hasn't seen Sal do anything else, and the Claw at Salubra was something pretty easy to get, so he probably suspects Sal has Claw and just suspects Sal hasn't gone over to Green Path yet.
Yep. Meatbag narrowly avoiding death on the outskirts of Queen Station, but makes it through fine. It's gonna... I believe we've already seen this check and the ones up.
Oh, Mask Shard is pretty good. I don't know how many Meatbag has, but I know he bought 1 at Leg Eater, 1 here. There's another at Leg Eater he hasn't bought yet. So he's sitting at least 2 Mask Shards.
So this should be the Stone Sanctuary journal check for Meatbag. As Sal is starting to round up grubs. I guess eyeing the Ismas at 16, but he definitely does not have enough movement to make 16 grubs available to him painlessly.
Yeah, I don't think I like this from Sal. If you're Sal, you probably want to be catching up to whatever movement Meatbag has. Though I guess Sal doesn't quite know yet that Meatbag has vertical. He'll find out very soon, like just right now. But I would prefer doing more checks at this stage instead of going for a really long goal.
And so Meatbag marks that. Demonstrates that he has Claw. And from Sal's perspective, what other checks are even in logic for him? He could go down and check Rafters, but going through...
So from Sal's perspective, he might think that Meatbag found Claw at Leg Eater or something, because Meatbag took a really long time to mark Stone Sanctuary after getting Claw. So, and marked it like right after marking spend 4,000. So he might think that Meatbag got started on Leg Eater with this Infection Pogo, and then found Claw there and went over to Stone Sanctuary with that Claw.
Makes sense. But it also occurs to me Salubra's not yet in logic for... Oh, that's a 3rd Mass Shard for Meatbag. That's big. So that's once he finds the money and goes back to Leg Eater, that's a 6th goal for him. But I'm not sure what the logical progression was to get Sal to that Claw, because the only other checks I think he has available to him right now would be Rafters stuff and maybe some stuff in Basin.
So Chad is pointing out neither of them ever checked Ancestral Mound. Oh, that's a way to get to Celebra as well. Sal doesn't have a simple key yet, but Meatbag found one, I believe, in Logic. I might be wrong. If they in fact have a simple key in Logic, that could very well be the Logic chain of getting that dash, going back to Celebra, and getting the claw. Tira in chat is saying perhaps Rubberfly's Elegy for Soul Catcher at Mound, but they also do have Dive, so they already had a Boulder Killer.
Resting Grounds via Blue Lake needs some form of vertical on, or like that route back into Crossroads needs some form of vertical on Easy Logic.
Yeah. I believe in any Logic even. Oh, and that's another Mask Shard. Waterway's full of Mask Shards.
Fetching the freebies on his way through Waterways.
I imagine this is going to be Dung Defender now from Meatbag. That looks like the direction he's going. Looks like he's going to go equip Strength. Also might as well equip Greed.
You know, for all the Geo that Dung Defender drops.
Yep, that Geo will be multiplied.
Oh man, imagine if Fragile Greed worked on the random Geo chest pickups. You get like Watcher's chests and it's like 850 Geo.
That would be pretty great. But yeah, the Blue Lake, going to Crossroads from Blue Lake through Resting Grounds is not in any Logic without Vertical, I believe, though you can do it with a Vengefly damage boost / Pogo. Oh, interesting. Apparently the simple key was at False Knight Chest, according to Spooky, who is always right. So, I think Sal must have skipped the chest after picking up Hera at False Knight. That's really unfortunate. I don't know if he'll ever think to go back there for that.
And that's a weird check to isolate as well. It might have had something to do with the goal rush, maybe? But no, Sal is the one who marked False Knight Moloch. I don't know.
I don't know.
Either way, out of Logic simple key can in theory get him to the dash for Claw if he wants to go around that way. But I'm really hoping that he goes back and Infection skips up to Celebra, because at this point you really want to put something on the board to try and make use of your late game advantage of having Tram Pass that Meatbag's probably not going to find.
Yeah, it's possible that Sal may have just been... Oh, yeah, unfortunate. I think at this point he has to wait until Dung Defender does the burrowing around the ground attack, that one. I don't exactly know what causes the bug, but it happens. But yeah, like I was saying, Sal maybe could have been in the mindset of, oh, I got Hera at False Knight, I can't get the checks after False Knight, and accidentally skipped the chest check as well. Atlantia, Claw was at Celebra.
And picking up the Love Key, which is scary, and an extra Fruitless Mask Shard after Dung Defender, as well as crossing the halfway threshold on goals for Meatbag.
Yeah, this is certainly Meatbag's game to lose at this point. Even if Sal catches up on progression, he's so far behind in gold. At the very least, Sal has Tram Pass and Meatbag does not, and Meatbag will unlikely ever go back to Brooding Moloch, since he knows he's ahead, and Sal did Brooding Moloch, so the thought there might be that there's nothing good at Brooding Moloch.
And plus, Meatbag is not super hurting for progression. With Claw and Dash, I feel like 15 grubs is static at this point, especially with Dive.
Yeah,
because
it's pretty
15
long,
grubs is
though.
static. Isma's tier at 16 is static. Out Leg Eater is waiting for him. Broken Vessel is doable whenever, although you probably want some more firepower for that.
I believe we saw Crystal Heart at Essence as well, which is pretty good for getting the Crossroads Fog Canyon grubs, the Teacher's Archive lore tablets as well. I guess with Isma's tier, that also makes that possible. I think that's the third VS we've seen, though no one has Shade Soul yet. There was one at Grubs.
That VS for Meatbag also makes Militia possible, I believe. You need to do the right side spike tunnel over to Waterways, like to Ismas Grove, which is a little bit tricky, but it is now possible for Meatbag. So he definitely has a route to 13 without ever finding the tram pass.
Yeah, Chat is saying that Meatbag might be doing Broken Vessel. He can't quite get there yet without C- wings or a very cursed glowing womb skip. But Grimchild at the fountain.
Nice.
I don't think anyone's going to be getting... Well, Sal might get that, but Meatbag certainly isn't going to be prioritizing that over getting goals.
And there's nothing like... Sure, it would be hilarious if City Crest was at the Grimchild check, but with a 6-goal lead, you're not likely to be hunting for isolated pieces of progression like that.
Oh, apparently I'm just extremely bad at reading, and that was a Charm Notch and not Grimchild.
Well, in that case, disregard everything. And Sal is finally going to pick up his claw. All right, so ball is in his court. Got to start clawing back goals at this point.
Yep. Looks like Sal is going straight to Cliffs now. A pretty good place to check with Claw. It's pretty dense. And thankfully for him, Meatbag has not yet gone there. But unfortunately, that is not where Dash is.
I was going to say, this is kind of a bold play from Sal, because usually if you get Claw, especially if you don't actually have any other movement, Cliffs is often one of the first places you check. Like maybe you do the well and other easy checks right by benches that you have, but I would be terrified of following Meatbag at this point. I guess there's not a whole lot else you can do without any other form of movement.
Yeah,
but...
I think I like this because it does seem like Meatbag's been pretty quickly rushing goals here. So and there weren't any goals in Cliffs, so it's entirely possible Meatbag did not go to Cliffs.
Yeah, Meatbag still has the very discreet advantage of not needing to walk around everywhere.
Yep. It looks like Meatbag's perhaps going over to Massive Moss Charger here. Yeah. Getting the 2 checks and the grub over here. Probably just doing some quick checks while he looks for a bit more money to buy out Leg Eater and C- and Ismas to do some other goals.
Can't quite read Meatbag's tracker here, but I believe... Is that 4 grubs from him? Oh, Shade.
I think so.
Yes, that's not actually a huge deal, but...
It's needed for Dreamnail White Lady, but I highly doubt Meatbag's gonna go for that with his current damage, especially since he doesn't have QG stag and would have to go the long way through QG.
It's far less of a difference. The difference between 1 dash and 0 is a much bigger deal than the difference between 2 dashes and 1.
Yeah. Chat brings up a good point that Meatbag could go do Flower to Elderbug, which is pretty easy. With Shade Cloak and VS, it's not too bad.
And when you have the lead that Meatbag has, you have the opportunity to drop an attempt and still feel okay about chasing that goal. Although, with Shade Cloak and VS as well as Strength, I feel like the world is sort of your oyster at this point, so I don't fault Meatbag for just sort of running around, getting grubs and checks incidentally.
Yeah, it looks like Meatbag just going to do checks near grub-dense areas like Green Path. I'm surprised he hasn't done more Crossroads grubs with the Crossroads Fog Canyon grub goal on the board.
That is a good point. He may be headed there relatively quickly, but no, we're finishing up Green Path first.
Yep, look, this looks like getting the last Green Path grub. Perhaps doing Hornet, perhaps not.
All of Sal's checks in Cliffs have been taunting him in some way. We saw an egg, a mask shard. We saw a white fragment at the exact same time Meatbag picked up another white fragment. That's a rough Cliffs.
Yeah, I've switched audio over to Meatbag since he's in the lead. This looks like Meatbag going to get Shade Soul at Grubs. This might be getting Shade Soul to make Flower to Elderbug easier.
I believe there was also a very cheap arcane egg, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, this might be... Okay, Hive Blood.
Nice.
Unfortunately not going to be relevant for Meatbag, given that he's almost certainly not getting that Tram Pass. There's also... That's a second King's Idol, it looks like.
And there's the Shade Soul.
Yeah, with this money, Meatbag is almost certainly going to be able to buy out Leg Eater. Looks like he's getting this grub over here. That'll be 9. They're aiming for 15 and also 16.
And Sal did light the lantern in Cliffs and is going to get further tormented by a rancid egg in the Grim Tent.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like Meatbag is climbing back up to Lem here from the Waterways bench.
Logic chain is just very unkind to Sal right now. It's hard to read that you have to go around to right side and into Waterways to get your dash.
Yeah. So if we put both of the racers' progression together, I believe almost all of the goals on the board are available in some form, because C-Dash was at Essence and Ismas was at Grubs, and Sal has Tram Pass. So that puts almost everything within arm's reach.
You technically want wings for Hive Knight, but you can do it with just Claw. It's just a pain. And I think that's the only thing, other than like City Crest and Spore Shroom, those one-offs, that is locked.
Yeah, Talk to Mask Maker is a bit of a long trip with having to go through QG, but it's not that bad.
So I suppose technically there's a tiny piece of that is in the dark, but it's a negligible dark room.
Yeah, you just literally drop down and hug the left wall, roughly, and it's very short. Looks like Meatbag is going to be giving the flower to Elderbug now, and perhaps cleaning up those right side crypts checks.
Okay, so it must have just been a goal rush in the form of Lem.
Yeah, yeah, Tier was at 16 Grubs, Tram Pass was at Moloch. Chat's got you covered. Spell Twister for Meatbag, and Great Slash. I believe that's the first nail art we've seen.
And it doesn't look like it'll be doing too much. There's no goals that pressure you to do Soul Sanctum, and the lever skip into QG is made useless by the fact that Meatbag already has Shade Cloak, so... And we've already seen everything, so we can't put anything fun at MMG for this seed.
Yeah. Sal is heading over to Left City, which will be good if he... Oh yeah, he did find that simple key. That's good. So it'll be good if he goes and checks Waterways and finds the dash. Will help with catching up. But Meatbag, it looks like, is going over to Storerooms, which has a lot of checks, but doesn't have any goals, which is strange.
Eyeing Storerooms before headed Soul Sanctum way.
I mean, this could still be
Waterways.
Storerooms.
Yeah, he can go either way. I highly doubt he's going to do Soul Master here. I don't think that it gets him a whole lot. It's a few checks in kind of quick succession, but yeah, just gonna take that bench. And Sal is doing the same walk around that we saw Meatbag do. a fair number of minutes ago. Sal also headed back for nail upgrades? Or...
No, it looks like he just reloaded the room for some reason. I don't know.
Spawned the elevator at the bottom. Is that actually faster RTA? I have never seen that before.
I think so. Yeah, if you if you like call an elevator either down or up, and then exit the room and come back, the elevator gets teleported to the place where you called it. This is most relevant in Pleasure House, where it's a very long elevator shaft.
Makes sense. I've just never seen that pulled on that elevator. I wonder how much faster that is if it saves time, because that's really cool. Like, I know if you hit the switch and then warp out, when you next come back, it's in the position that you hit it to, because that is a little time save just as you bench warp places. But you learn cool new optimizations every day. And Sal gonna finish off these like middle city checks, and then hopefully we'll go to the waterways to pick up his first dash.
Yeah, it looks like Meatbag is just rushing grubs at this point. It makes sense, since there's 2 goals there, as opposed to the 1 goal from Flower to Elderbug. Looks like he's picking up all the Crossroads grubs now.
And especially with Hera as early as it was, like, you're probably fair to guess. You have a 7-goal lead, you may very well have a movement lead, and your opponent probably has infected Crossroads as well. You can get around to Flower to Elderbug later. Your opponent does not have that luxury. They gotta find stuff.
Yeah, Meatbag in fact knows that Sal has Hera almost certainly, unless Sal for some reason did not pick up the False Knight item after killing it for the goal. And unfortunately Sal takes a death. Yeah.
So that'll at least keep him in waterways, maybe get him closer to finding his dash, but that's a really long walk back to get your shade.
Yeah. Sal still doesn't technically know that Meatbag has dash, because none of the goals are actually locked behind it, I believe. But he can probably suspect that Meatbag has some sort of movement advantage with how fast he's been marking these goals.
Speaking of fast goal marks, grab one more real quick, and that's Isma's, so that's not great. And Sal knows that he's like right there to his 10th goal.
Yeah, and there's nothing Sal can do with only 1 grub, it looks like. He's nowhere near sniping that goal. I'm gonna guess that Meatbag's gonna go for that an easy peak scrub. Meanwhile, picks up Glowing Loom, which means that Broken Vessel is technically now available to him, though
hey,
it's not something you would expect him to do.
You've got a 12-1 lead, and you've either already done Flower to Elderbug, or you really hate Flower to Elderbug. You want to give the fans their content.
I mean, we already saw C-Dash was at some amount of essence that wasn't completely out of reach, so I'm certain.
And you get that essence by doing Lost Spin.
Of course.
For those that don't know, the Curse Shade Skip involves dying on the long C-Dash room in front of Broken Vessel, and then the Shade spawns sufficiently far away that you can't aggro it with yourself, but you can position yourself such that your Glowing Loom spawns will hit the Shade, and then you get 1 chance, because the Shade takes damage, to pogo it up to the Broken Vessel fight. It's not even on hard logic, I believe, and it's kind of silly, but sometimes you just want to do the crazy content skips.
Yeah. Sal getting pretty precariously close to death here, but also pretty close to dash. Being very careful with that last fluke phase. Meanwhile, Meatbag picking up Isma's tier. That'll be a 10th goal now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him just go farm some essence. He's going back into this room, momentarily forgot he already got the scrub.
Oh, so yeah, if you're Meatbag here, C- gets you 2 more goals for free, and then you have another fairly trivial, like static goal in Flower to Elderbug, and if you ever find a 3rd Dream Nail, it's free. Oh, or you could even do Enter Godhome as your late goal. Yeah, the Meatbag has this pretty locked up.
Yeah, or the Teacher's Archives lore tablet. Oh, Vanilla Soul Catcher. We've already seen that, but I didn't notice. Yeah, Teacher's Archive lore tablets is pretty free with Shade Soul.
Is fair. I do still suffer from very strong anti-Umu stigma.
Yeah. Umu can be quite annoying, but Shade Soul makes it not too bad. Huh, I don't know about this play from Meatbag. He's going over to Cliffs, which is... He has a bunch of goals available to him, just not particularly quick ones, I guess. But he doesn't need any more checks. Oh, another thing C-Dash would open up for Meatbag, or at least make easier, is talk to a militia. Since for that you either need C-Dash or to do a spike tunnel with air stall.
It's true, so we're going to see both runners do checks that the other has done, as Sal gets these easy claw dash checks out of the way, now that he has picked up not only his dash, but mod-logged right to the spot of the second dash thereafter. And Meatbag's going to comb through Cliffs, which we already know is pretty much a bust.
Spooky, I'm not sure whether Mark of Pride is needed. It does make it more doable. The one time I did it was with Mark of Pride. And yeah, I know Meatbag has Long Nail, I think, so that might help.
The only reason I know about that Shade Skip is because there is a plando that forces you to do it, and I think it gave you either Mark of Pride, Unbreakable Heart for a tougher shade, or both. So it may require some other tech beyond just Glowing Womb, but I don't recall.
To be fair, Meatbag does have those 6 masks for a tougher shade.
Check is something that is new to us, I believe, so it would need to be some crazy progression chain, like wings into a goal at Willow to even start to claw your way back, but it's at least new.
Yeah, I could see Sal making a comeback maybe if he gets, or like a bit of a comeback if he gets C-Dash somewhere earlier than Meatbag does, because that does block a bunch of goals, namely Broken Vessel and the Crossroads Fog Canyon Grubs, Talk to a Militia if you're not willing to Spike Tunnel.
And with his Tram Pass, that's also check free all grubs and waterways with a mildly cursed Pogo.
Yeah.
You gotta set up a warp to be...
Looks like Meatbag is going over to Godhome now. Possibly also going to do Fluke Marm, but I wouldn't blame him if he doesn't.
With Shaded Soul, it's not too bad, but also, you don't have to do Fluke Marm. There are other ways to spend your time. Yeah, he's just gonna go to Godhome. Where do you go at this point? It looks like you might be making Kingdom's Edge, which is a new set of checks that we haven't really seen. But I guess you're still just in check mode. Like, what static goals are you really running down at this point?
I don't know if Sal is familiar with the right side waterway spike tunnel. That could be a goal. I guess Sal doesn't have Ismas or C-Dash, so that makes that not actually possible. Yeah, I don't really know what Sal does right now. I would maybe see an Essence farm for C-Dash being pretty good right now for Sal. Though I don't know whether Sal has checked Essence yet.
No, I think he did. But Meatbag gonna mark off Enter God Home, which was one of the last goals that Sal had available to him. And also gonna take it up to an 11-1 lead.
Yeah, there's not much you can do if you're Sal. Entering Gotham earlier would have been pretty good for Sal, but unfortunately now it's too late.
And Meatbag also, after a moment of deliberation, picked up Stag Nest Stag at the God Tuner checks. That's a couple more checks that we have not yet seen in Cliffs. Did Meatbag just spend 300 Geo to get 150 back?
I mean, money doesn't really matter now. Like, I think that's a vanilla dash slash we're seeing on Sal's screen, but Meatbag has bought basically everything he might need besides nail upgrades for doing bosses. But the problem for Sal here is that all the goals left are fairly long goals that don't have that many checks. At least the ones that he can reach right now with no further random checks. Like Dreamnail White Lady is reachable, but very, very long. Because you have to go through all of QG, including doing the bad QG arena. Flower to Elderbug is very long with literally 0 checks, or I guess Crypts might not be something that Sal cleared out yet. I forget exactly. Lore Tablets and Teacher's Archives is not yet doable for Sal. Hive Night is doable, but again, long and only 2 checks.
Find Spore Shroom somewhere and we missed it, correct? No, okay, he's passing by the lore tablet. I was gonna say, I don't remember anyone picking that up.
Yeah. Oh, apparently chat says that QG Stag was somewhere, it was at pretty low essence.
I thought that was Queen Station.
Yeah, Spooky says it's Queen Station.
I trust Spooky.
Distant Village Stag is not actually that good because it gives easier access to Beastun, but you don't really care that much about Beastun anymore.
Meatbag immediately, deciding that he is too good for the Distant Village Stag, throws himself into the explosives. Retread from Meatbag as he goes to pick up his shade, and then I'm assuming he just heads down and fights Umu.
Yeah. I assume it's why he's heading this way.
Oh no, Sal, please don't die back here. This is a rough spot to die as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Sal, if you're in this position, you're really between a rock and a hard place. There's a bunch of long goals that you could go do, but they're really long, and you kind of want to be doing checks to catch up by getting a movement lead. But meanwhile, Meatbag has the luxury to go do all those long goals. Meatbag looks like he's just gonna give up on his shade and die again to make retrieving his shade easier, perhaps?
Meatbag, you have Dreamnail and Dive. Why would you dash directly into the explosives? I'm confused.
So Sal's just picked up a King's Idol. I don't remember how much he's picked up earlier, since Bingo UI is apparently not something he's using.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised that's still on the board, but it is one of the things that Meatbag did not get in his full clear of shops, essentially. I remember there was one at fairly low grubs.
Yeah, so that's at least 2. But Sal has sold to Lem. Okay, Sal at least thinks that there's been 3.
I believe that's his third.
Yeah, I would believe it. Meatbag had a pretty early King's Idol as well. So, yeah.
I'm gonna approach this Umu fight. If he can get up to that first lore tablet.
Yeah, had some trouble, but manages to get it. Meatbag trying to put down a Dream Gate, but unfortunately it's too close to the boss arena.
Does Meatbag have essence?
I think he gathered some from the Resting Grounds tree.
Okay, I may have missed that, but in that case then I guess there's a radius around the Umu arena.
Yeah. It's so weird hearing, like, the music just extremely faint in the background for me. I usually like putting Hollow Knight's music pretty high because I like Hollow Knight's music a lot.
Shout outs to Christopher Larkin. Incredible soundtrack.
Yeah, like, even the earlier and less exciting boss fights have pretty good music. So it looks like Meatbag's not going to have the fastest Umu fight, but he's playing it pretty safe.
And there's no reason to, like, invest a huge amount of effort for the 1 or 2 cycle here. You know you're ahead of your opponents in any number of ways. You just really don't want to die too many times to Umu, and you can probably mark this. Like, there's a chance that Tao found either C-Dash or another Ismas that wasn't at 16 grubs and is racing you to this, but it's probably unlikely.
Yeah, it looks like Meatbag isn't too familiar with the Umu fight. You can get some pretty easy Dream Nails on Umu to gather soul more effectively, so that you're not just getting soul from the few nail hits you can get per cycle, but it doesn't like he's going to be doing that. But that's a pretty clean kill of Umu, like, not many hits taken.
And what really matters is he got it done. Now he's just got to find the remaining lore tablets. There you go. And he'll be able to clean up his 12th goal with many options available to him for his 13th. And Fury of the Fallen as a nice reward.
Yep. And that's the third.
To top it all off, once he marks it, that will be a nice bingo for Meatbag.
So now I think a pretty safe play for Meatbag would be to go farm some essence for that C-Dash, depending on how much it was. I don't remember the exact number and whether it was a lot or just or manageable, because that would give you both okay, 468 isn't that bad, especially with Shade Soul. So Fog Canyon and Crossroads Grubs and also Broken Vessel are both available with that C-Dash, and it's pretty hard to get Lockout of both of those.
But it looks like this is just the Talk to Maskmaker play, as we find the third nail art. This is fairly safe. The one Mantis Petra Arena is not the horrible one, and this with Shade Soul and Strength is not super bad, especially with as much health as Meatbag has. And like we said earlier, the Dark Room is barely a Dark Room. It's a brief blink at best, and so that's a fairly easy, safe goal to have for your 13th. No better than Flower Bug.
Yeah, I forgot about Talk to Maskmaker. I thought the only QG goal was Trader Lord, so yeah, this makes sense.
He could also be doing Dream Nail White Lady, it's true. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, Dream Nail White Lady is a pretty good backup goal to have, so that your progress through QG isn't completely wasted if you get locked out on Maskmaker.
Honestly, if you get locked out on Maskmaker, like, you can just go hunt for C-Dash. I don't know if Trader Lord is worth it, but, like, yeah, you can at least get benches, make the return easier. At a 10-goal lead, I don't know that I'm dying to do Trader Lord if I don't have to.
I mean, to the contrary, if you're at a 10-goal lead, right, your opponent is pretty incentivized to go do quick goals that you could do pretty quickly. So you can counter that strategy by just doing the very long goals that are available to you. Like, your opponent doesn't have much leeway to be wasting time doing Trader Lord, while you have much more leeway to be doing that. So that's a pretty safe bet that your opponent's not going to be doing that, and you're not going to get locked out.
A fair point, to be sure.
So it looks like Meatbag will in fact be making his way over to Maskmaker pretty cleanly. Meanwhile, Sal doing Mantis Lords. Some new checks, but unfortunately way too late for him to be catching back up.
Even if... Oh, well.
Did Meatbag not sit on the bench?
Put a Dream Gate down, but I don't...
Oh, okay. Oh, Meatbag didn't have any money because he died and never got his shade back.
So, smart foresight on Meatbag's side to put the Dream Gate down just in case. But yeah, even if Spore Shroom, Crystal Heart, and Wings are all behind Mantis Lords, this is gonna be GG's here in just a second.
Maybe Mantis Lords will have a Maskmaker stag. But no, unfortunately for Sal, this will be ending with a 13-2.
Clean game from Meatbag. That was basically, he took his early progression lead and then ran as far as he possibly could with it, and Sal never really had the chance to catch up.
Yeah, those money goals, as we predicted at the start, were very big.
GG.
GG's, Meatbag.
Congrats on the win. The one question I had about the routing was, in terms of the crypts checks, when you were first coming down from Resting Grounds, was that just about rushing to Lem?
100%. This was a shops board.
Oh yeah, super money board.
Yeah, that was like the entire point of that whole thing that I did at the beginning. Like, once I got infection, I was like, okay, may have been a mistake because Claw was there, but I wanted to get to right side, spend as much money, like get as much money as I possibly could. And then, I was eyeing both the buyout goals, the Rancid Eggs goal, the 4,000 Geo goal, and the mask goal. And I couldn't quite get the mask goal because I don't think there were 4 masks at shop, but it was still, right there.
Yeah, I think there were maybe 3 masks in shops, including Leg Eater.
Yeah. I wasn't able to afford it because I had just bought out Salubra, but yeah, that was the goal of my early routing, is like, get all of those shops goals. Like, I was like totally willing to concede False Knight, Brooding Moloch, and I was going for it because it didn't look like he had done it, but fortunately I didn't spend a whole lot of time on that. The Grubs check was like 100% worthwhile, knowing that Isma's tier was there.
That was a big one.
And then, I was prepared to also concede, Journal Below Stone Sanctuary during all of that. Once I saw Claw at Salubra, I was like, okay, shops are still better, the better thing that I should be doing right now, even though I could go get that gold, because, if he wants to go get that gold, then I'm going to get the 5 buyout goals. And I ended up with both, but I guess he didn't go for shops until clearing a lot of green path. I have no info about where he went, so
that's exactly what happened. He was picking up Claw at Salubra around the time you were marking off Journal to Stone Sanctuary, like after you had already done all of the buyout madness, pretty much.
Yeah, unfortunately. So at the start, we were actually kind of worried for you because Tram Pass was at Breeding Moloch, actually. So we thought that was probably the logical progression to right side, and that you would spend a lot of time doing other things while Sal went and got the shop's goals. But it turned out that Harrow at False Knight let you do that anyways.
Yeah.
And Sal in the early game wasted a bunch of time in Green Path clearing and took a long time to go over to Salubra to get Claw, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how this would have gone a completely different direction if... I mean, he wouldn't have necessarily had dive. I don't know how fast he actually went to Green Path Stag, right?
He went to Green Path Stag basically right after False Knight.
Okay.
So yeah, if not for Hera at False Knight, I think Sal probably would have beaten you to right side, but that Hera was certainly very good for you.
Yeah.
And especially we were talking about how, because the late game, there's enough stuff locked behind Tram Pass that even beyond the early shops movement, even if you trade goals back and forth in the early game, because you both get to right side around the same time, having Tram Pass is 2 late game goals that we assumed you were not going to ever have the opportunity to do.
Yeah, it would have been a very long time before I went back for Moloch.
Yeah, chat is wondering why you did not go do the best goal, give flower to Elderbug. Or, sorry, cool dude.
I had a lot of choices about what goal I was going to do at the end. If I had 150 Geo, I was strongly considering going to do Dreamnail White Lady. But I honestly feel like, that's in poor taste. I should be trying to win with as much score as I can, not like sandbag to run up my opponent's score so I can get better seeding.
Kind and noble victory for sure. We were joking that obviously now is the time to do the Glowing Womb shade skip to Broken Vessel for your last goal.
Yeah, I don't think I was going to try that. Not that big of a masochist. I spent enough time following with Claw to the Infection Pogo to Leg Eater.
Oh yeah, we saw that.
Still ended up being worthwhile overall, but wish I'd gotten it faster. Life goes on. I'm not the best at all these fancy infection skips.
So I see that Sal has disconnected from the bingo chat, so I don't know if we're going to get him on stream with us.
Looks like probably not. Well, yeah, GG. That was a very quick game.
I believe our next race is tomorrow afternoon. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Cake Sauce versus Jetfire.
It's going to be commentated by me and Conra.
Yep. Pretty hype race, I think. It's at tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, see you guys there. I think we're about done and ready to wrap.
GG's again to all the runners. Thanks everyone for sticking with it. I plugged it before, but if any of this is interesting to you and you're not already on the Hollow Knight Discord and the Randomizer channel, come join, come check us out. It's a chill community. They do races, both lockouts competitive like this and blackouts literally all the time. There may even be some following this race immediately. Thanks for sticking with us. I've been Quacksilver.
And I've been Jason ILTG. Thanks for watching.
Bye.